Welcome back. Glad to have you guys back today. You are in the gap on WYTV7 Christian Broadcast. I am your host, Keith Smith, and I am ready for this broadcast today. Today we're going to be doing some self-reflection, self-inventory, if you will, and what you have to do this. Now, for me, if you guys in the listening audience and the viewing audience as well, if you've been following my previous broadcast, you're already aware of my journey and where I've came from and hardships in my life and what God did to help me overcome them. But the thing about it was when I had to do my self-reflection or self-inventory, I found myself in the worst situation of my life. And I didn't do it voluntarily. It was an involuntary process, but that was all I had left. So I'm hoping today's message will help you start doing some self-inventory, self-reflection, and clearing out some things in your life while you're not maybe in the worst situation in your life, that it would keep you from having to do it like I did. And I want to tell you a story, and the story is about a dog, and the dog's name is dog number 9. And dog number 9, his job was, he was a race dog, a race greyhound at a racetrack, and he raced every single day. Well, there was a man that went every day, and he would put money on dog number 9. And dog number 9 won just about every single day. Day in and day out, this guy would show up. He would put money on dog number 9. Dog number 9 would win most of the time. So he'd always left the track pretty much in a good mood because he was winning money. Well, he showed up one day to the racetrack. He went to the bet window. He put his money down. He said, I want to place this money on dog number 9 again. And he was just smiling from ear to ear. And the lady looked back through the window at him and said, well, dog number 9 is not here anymore. And he said, what do you mean dog number 9 is not here? And she said, he's not here. He doesn't race here anymore. And he said, well, you know, I bet always on dog number 9. And she said, not today, sir, because he's not here. He said, well, I demand to see the owner of this establishment. So she went and got the owner, the manager, if you will, and he came up and he said, listen, she's telling me dog number 9 is no longer here. And he said, that's correct. He doesn't race here anymore. And he said, well, where's he at? He said, well, he's down at the dog pound. And he said, where's the dog pound? And the guy gave him directions. He said, well, I'm going to go to the dog pound then and see him. So he went to the pound and he asked, he said, do y'all have dog number 9 from the racetrack down here? And the lady said, yes, we do. He's in the last pen on the right. If you'll go all the way down, you'll see him. So he walked down to the last pen, and when he looked in, there he was, dog number 9, laying on that concrete slab through that fence, looking up at him. So he sit there and stared at dog number 9 for a few seconds, and he said, why are you not at the racetrack? Why are you here? Are you getting too old to race? Well, dog number 9 looked up at him and said, no, I'm not too old to race. I'm the same age I was last week. And you didn't know, I know you didn't know this, but dog number 9, he can talk in this story. So dog number 9 told him that. And when the guy looked at him and he said, well, what's wrong? Are you feeling sick? He said, no, I'm as healthy as I've ever been. He said, well, have you lost a step and maybe you scared those younger dogs outrun you now? He said, no, I'm as fast as I've ever been. He said, well, why are you here and not at the racetrack? And dog number 9 looked at him and said, because I spent all those years at that track running round and round in a circle. And I finally figured out that thing they have on the pole that leads us around, it wasn't even real. So you see, I've spent most of my life chasing something that wasn't even real. Now, when I heard that story, it reminded me of my own life. And I started thinking about the things in my life that I started chasing that wasn't even real. In my mind, it was real. In my goal of what I was trying to achieve then, it was real. But in reality, it wasn't. Now, if you do self-reflection, and you may not be in a bad place in your life, even if you're not in a bad place, you can always self-reflect and do self-inventory. Is there things that is in your life that you are chasing right now that you know is not real? Is there things in your life right now you could do with them or you could do without them, and you're still hanging on, not knowing if you can do with them or without them? Or do you have the mindset of saying, well, it's just a small habit, or it's just a small thing, it won't lead to anything? I used to have that same mindset that it was so small, it's not going to lead to anything. You know, it's not going to develop into something that I'm chasing that's not real in my life. I'm not going to spend years going round and round, not going anywhere, chasing this thing that's not real. Well, I read a story one time about in North Carolina beaches. It was probably 5 or 6 years ago. They had an unusual problem with some whales that have migrated up to that area and have beached themselves. And they were wondering, one, why are these whales in this area? Number two, what's causing them to beach themselves? Well, when they did some study on what was going on, because they were so shocked to find whales beached in this part of the area, they said they found out that there was an unusually large school of sardines that were traveling that area at the time. Well, these whales have been chasing these sardines, and they carried them into an area they're not usually found. Well, what happened is the sardines started running to shallow water to get away from them. Now, we all know a whale is the biggest creature in the sea. A sardine is one of the smallest, but they just kept chasing these little small sardines, and the sardines ran into shallow water. Well, when a whale gets so far in, the tide won't allow him to get back out sometimes. So when they ran to safety in shallow water, the whales continued to chase them, not knowing they were in danger. The whales ended up beaching themselves, chasing something as small as a sardine. Something as huge as a whale caused them to get so far in, they couldn't get back out. If you're faced with a huge situation, I guarantee you, if you start self-reflecting like I had to do, it all started with something very small, and it migrated into something that was very, very big. Those whales could have eaten just about anything in the ocean, but it found the smallest thing that carried it in so far it couldn't get back. That's what happens in our life. That's what happened in my own life. And that's why I love sharing these things, so you guys can say, you know what, I don't have to be in the worst place of my life like Keith was to have to realize these things and find a way to correct them in this situation. You can do it now, because if you start this self-reflection, if you start looking for these small things that have led you in to a place that maybe you think you can still get back out of, but in actuality you can't. That's what happened to me. Mine started with pain medication, opioids, something the doctor gave me. And it continued for years until a point that it got me in over my head. I didn't understand what addiction was, because I was a person that wasn't supposed to be controlled by addiction. I was a person, I would have been the last person that you would have ever thought would have ended up being in prison. But it happened. All because I started chasing small things in my life, thinking it wasn't going to be a big problem. And it got me in to shallow water, and I couldn't get back out where I needed to be. And I was trapped. Now, I didn't find myself beached on a beach like those whales, but I found myself in prison. I found myself having to detox through addiction, and I never would admit I had an addiction problem. Looking back now, doing self-reflection, I see, man, this was very simple. I started chasing things that were small in my life, and then when they grew into bigger things, I didn't realize I'm still chasing the wrong things. Well, how do we end up chasing these things? And it's not a complex problem. Here's what I had to understand. I lost focus. I lost focus of my morals and beliefs. I lost focus of what was important in my life. I started taking for granted because I had a really good upbringing and really good parents, and because I had a chance to go to college and always had really good jobs in management, and I even went on to be a police officer like my dad. I figured these bad things happen to other people. They really won't happen to me. But how wrong was I? How wrong was I? I continued chasing these things, and I lost focus. I'm reminded of a story about Bo Jackson, and I talked about Michael Jordan a couple of broadcasts ago, and it was really good about how he wasn't supposed to be the one. Well, Bo Jackson had sort of the same skill set that Michael Jordan had. He grew up in a rural area, very small area, nothing really good supposed to come out of that area, but Bo Jackson was a great athlete. Not only was he a good football player, but he was an excellent baseball player. And he played both sports at Auburn University. He played football and baseball. And he was an All-American in both. But when he finished college, he was a #1 pick of the Oakland Raiders that year. Another #1 pick, just like Michael Jordan was. And he went on to his pro career. And he was having a really good pro career until he got an injury, a hip injury, from a hit, a bad hit in the NFL, right on the sidelines. I remember seeing it when it actually happened live in the game. And little did he know that that one hit right then would end his career. Well, the thing that he was best at, it got taken from him because of one hit. One little hit took his whole career away. But God had invested more than football into Bo Jackson. Same way in our lives. We may be good at something and it may start carrying us in a path of life. But when it's taken from us, we have to understand God has put more in us than just that one thing, and we have to find it. Well, Bo Jackson found his. He went to baseball. And not only was he a baseball player, he was a really good baseball player. He went to the Kansas City Royals, ended up being a starter for them, an all-star for them. But the thing about Bo Jackson's baseball career that stood out to me is this one simple thing. They say the hardest thing in baseball or any sport is to hit a round ball with a round bat. But what makes it even more difficult than that is when they throw you a breaking ball or a curve ball. And what that means is they have a diagonal rotation on it that causes the ball to curve and drop at the same time, making it almost impossible to hit. Well, Bo Jackson was said to be one of the greatest breaking ball hitters in the game. Not in just his time, in any time. So they were asking Bo Jackson, how do you hit breaking balls so well? And I remember him reading an article that he was quoted saying, he can slow the rotation down by concentrating on that ball enough that he can read the commissioner's name on the ball. Now, that seems almost impossible. And they did not believe that because on every Major League Baseball, the commissioner's name is on the baseball. So they wanted to test this. So what they did is they took Bo Jackson out and they put colored dots on 4 or 5 sides of a baseball. They had one ball with red dots, one with yellow, one with blue. And what they did is they had a pitcher throw breaking balls to him at a real high rotation speed. Well, Bo Jackson, as the balls were coming, could slow it down with his eyesight so much that when it got to him, he would start calling out the colors: yellow, green, blue, red. And he was getting every one of them right. And they couldn't believe this. So they wanted to carry it a step further. So what they did is they took baseballs and they put numbers on each side of it. One ball had 1s on it, one had 2, one had 3s. And they threw these balls to him. And every time he would call the numbers out: 2, 7, 8, 5. And he was getting them all right. There was only 2 sets of numbers he did not get right. That was 6 and 9 because they're interchangeable. And it was so fascinating to them that he could slow this rotation down. And it bewildered them so much. They were waiting on this huge explanation on how he does this or how phenomenal of a feat it is. And when they asked Bo Jackson, how do you do this? His answer was so simple and so direct and to the point that it not only amazed them, it amazed me whenever I read it. He said, I never lose focus of the ball. I never lose focus of what I'm looking at. And I started thinking about in my life, I lost focus. All I had to do was keep concentrating on the important things in my life and building off of those. And my life would have never got derailed the way it did. I would have never been forced to find myself in incarceration, losing my career, my home, my family, everything that I'd ever worked for. I would have never went through that had I not lost focus in what was important in my life. I started allowing little things to come in my life, and I started chasing those and running round and around after those things to a point that I had to realize they weren't even real in my life. Now, once you realize this and you know change has to take place and you regain your focus back, that no matter how many rotations it's been through, you can still focus on the task at hand. Once I was placed in that situation to regroup my life and do those things and reflect on my life, now it was time for me to rebuild those things again, my morals, my belief system. And I had to do this in the worst time of my life. And I say that, and I keep saying this over and over, because I don't want people who hear my story or hear these messages to have to do it in the worst time of their life. Because right now, my life is great. My life is absolutely great. And God has gave me back in full everything that I have lost. And my life will continue to be even greater because I refuse to believe, as good as my life is now, that this is the best my God has for me. I know He has more for me. If you remember the last broadcast, I was talking about, I'd only wanted to get into the Charlotte market area doing these broadcasts because I just wanted to reach people in Charlotte and hopefully have speaking engagements there. But I was planning my purpose and my goal within my area code, so to speak. And God was thinking global. This goes out in several different countries. Well, even as good as my life is now, I refuse to believe this is the best it'll be. But even as good as my life is now, and as good as your life may be, or you may be on a path to success that you've never been on, or you may be, making a descent downward. Either way, you got to continue to do self-reflection. You got to continue to say, am I allowing little things to get me off course and to lose my focus? Will these little things become big things that cause me to run round and round in a circle like dog number 9 until it's too late, and then you realize, hey, what I've been chasing is not even real. And just like Bo Jackson said, it's a very simple process. Don't lose focus of what's most important in your life. And when you write these things down, what are most important in your life, you'll start thinking of things you haven't thought of in years. And when you start placing emphasis on that, I once heard this, that whatever you focus on the most in your life will grow strong. Now, that means negative or positive. If you start focusing and chasing the wrong things, they will grow to a huge size in your life. But if you're on a path to success, or you're focusing on your gifts and talents, or you're focusing on being the best father or mother that you can be, or the best in your career, those things will grow to immense proportions as well. Well, the thing with me that got me to this point, and I said, I got to start with the basics, was I didn't have a relationship with God. I knew who He was. I didn't have a relationship with Him. So I had to spend time. I said, if I'm already going to be here, I might as well make the most of this opportunity. My focus at that time was not anything beyond those fences I was behind. My focus was on rebuilding a relationship with God. That's where my focus was. And my relationship and my knowledge of God and his word and how Jesus Christ came into my life and what he did for me, it started to grow stronger in my life on a daily basis. And I kept focused on Christ and what he did and what he means and where he lives within me and that I can do all things through him. Not only did I focus on it, I started believing it. And then those things started resetting my values and belief system in that I can be a good father. I can be a good spouse again. I can be a good leader, not only in the workplace, but in my community. My past will not define me. That my resurgence through Christ is greater than any obstacle I've ever faced in my life or hardship or when adversity rears its ugly head. I'm greater than that. And once I started doing that, my life began to take off. Now, I still do self-reflection now, but it's not the same type of self-reflection. I'm reflecting on what can I improve on to continue this great life that I have? What can I improve on to continue beating this addiction that I had? And I've been free from it from 11 years and almost 4 months now. And thank God for that. Galatians 5:1 says, stand fast, therefore, in the liberties wherewith Christ has set us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. I've read that verse several times, and I'm still living that till this day. I'm free through Christ, and I'm not under that yoke of bondage anymore. Why? Because I don't lose focus on my Creator and the life that he had planned for me. I always say it's like an MMA bout. I went so far in my life running from God's purpose and will that he finally tapped me out. I tapped out. I said, Lord, whatever you want me to do, this is what I'll do. And I said it in a way like, okay, I'll just do whatever you want me to do. But when he started revealing his plan to me, man, I am eager to do this now. I'm anxious to see where God is going to carry me. You know, I'm ready to go with him. I'm ready to walk with him in regularity and in harmony. And that's what I build upon every day. Don't lose focus of the things that are most important in your life. Your relationship with God, your family, and your well-being. Those are the things you have to start with. And I promise you, once you do that, your life will begin to take off. Now, it's easy for me to say now, coming through all the obstacles and hardship that God had brought me through, and he continues to manifest himself in my life daily till this day. But if you're not at that point yet, let me make one plea to you. Try Jesus. Try Jesus and start focusing on him. And start growing with him and walking with him every day. Turn all these problems over to him, whatever you may have. Or if you don't have these type of problems, start trusting in him to carry you in a path of life that you can never dream of getting there alone. Those type of things will start to manifest itself in your life. And it's simple how to do it. If you don't have a relationship with him, 1 John 1:9, I say it every broadcast. If we confess our sins, he is quick to just forgive us of our sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Well, the same thing Bo Jackson said that was so simple to me, just not lose focus. That verse is so simple. Say, Lord, I've failed you. I'm a sinner. I don't want to live this life. Lord, come into my life. Forgive me of my sins and cleanse me. And at that point, start focusing on him. Spend time in his word. Spend time with him. Spend time trying to be a better leader to your family. And trust me, I have not arrived. I'm still growing in these areas. But I want to share this with you. Not only what I've been through and how I'm living now, but I want to share Jesus Christ with you. Because without him, none of us are anything. And this wouldn't even be possible. Guys, I appreciate you joining us. If you're in the viewing audience, thank you so much. If you're in the listening audience, I welcome you to come back as well. God is doing some great things in my life, and I really want to hear if he's doing some good things in your life. And you can contact me at WYTV7. You can also go to my website at inthegapmotivational.com. All of our contact information is there. And also, too, you can check out my social media pages. And if you go to the gallery section on my website, you can also see past broadcasts as well from here. You can also go to YouTube and type in WYTV7 and not only see me, but see all of the broadcasters that's on there. And you can see their messages as well. You can go back and see old episodes, and it will really speak to you. And not only go view other broadcasts, and I want to thank the broadcasters and WYTV7 for what they do and allow me to have a platform here. But I'm also going to ask you to go to WYTV7.org. And when you go there, you'll see a donate button. Well, that's what we need to keep this ministry going. These are the things, how we keep bringing these messages to you and how we keep focusing on not only improving our lives, but trying to improve your life. Go donate because we need your help. We need your help not only to keep broadcasts going and podcasts, but also to keep furthering the kingdom of God so we can do more things in community outreach. And without you, it would not be possible. And I want to thank WYTV7 once again and all the broadcasters for what they do. You have so many people that work behind the scenes diligently to make sure that you're getting a quality program. And I want to thank them as well. And also, to reach out to me. Hey, if I've said something and there's a message that spoke to you, I want to hear about it. You can reach me at itgmotivational@gmail.com. It's also on our website, how to contact us. If there's something you're dealing with you want me to deal with, please reach out and let me know, and we'll do a future broadcast on it. And also, too, if any of these messages that you've heard that you want to hear in person, or maybe you're having an event, or if you want to bring my testimony to your church, just contact me through our website or reach out to inbox at WYTV7. Let me know, and we can get it booked and scheduled to come. I look forward to come speaking in person. I just love being in front of people and feeling the energy, and when God speaks through me and what they're receiving with that. So reach out to me. I would love to come speak at your event in your church. And I would just ask you till next time, please come back, stand in the gap with us, and we'll bring another message from God and whatever he lays on our heart to keep improving our lives together. See you next time.